Good morning, welcome to day 51 of my Munros challenge. Today I'm walking route number 54 and I'm in the Strathfarrar estate on the private road, so I had to drive down the private road. You park anywhere you want, so what I've done is I've parked the van where the route ends and I've cycled back to where the route starts, which is 6 kilometres up the tarmac track. So I'm just starting now, but effectively I've saved 6 kilometres of walking. So the Strathfarrar 4 Munros, Sgurr nan Ruaidhe, peak of redness, Carn nan Gobhar, which is the rocky hill of the goat. I think we've done a couple of hills of goats already. Sgurr a corrie gliss, which is peak of the grey corrie, and last but not least Sgurr for a tool, peak of the cold hollow. So without further ado, I need to introduce my mate Steve, known as Gretna, who's come out to walk for a couple of days with me. So he's up the road trying to get a head start. He's walking with Stanley, so Steve's going to be with me for a couple of days. So the access track that we start on deteriorates to this boggy, faint track which still runs parallel to the burn. So put your gaiters on. So just cross the burn, nothing too difficult. So that's the Munros there in the cloud. I can see a faint track going up the side of the grassy bank. Now the guidebook suggests not to be lulled into a false sense of it doesn't look too bad. I think it's a bit of a drag really, but it doesn't look it. So the guidebook suggests we're going to be in and out of a path, but so far this Land Rover track has been pretty consistent, and it's taken us straight over the brow of this this hill here, which should lead us on to the approach to the Munros. So hopefully it will continue. This is a very, very blowy Sgurr nan road. I just can't put into words I can't put into words how windy it is. It's literally blowing me off my feet. So it's been very spongy and mossy, the bankside that I'm walking up, but we just got to the boulder field before the final ascent for the Gobhar climb. So it's going to be fun in the boulders. So here we are, Carn nan Gobhar. Very windy. So we've just dropped into the col between the second and third Munros, and I just got out of the wind. I have to say that wind is absolutely horrendous. It's probably the strongest winds I've experienced in Scotland. It was gales. It was taking me off my feet, blowing stand sideways. Anyway, just coming into view is a footpath there going up quite a steep bank side to the third Munros. So let's get on with it. I have to say this one is very steep and grassy. The only saving grace so far is it's been reasonably sheltered from that horrific wind, but I suspect that's going to change as I get nearer to the summit. I have to say this third Munros is a bit of a monkey. It's throwing everything at you. It's now I suspect I'm quite close to the top, but it's decided to throw a boulder field in the mix. So here we are at the top, and I have to say this is another summit with two tops. So we've got a trig point over there, and we've got a huge cairn there, and it looks like there's another trig point, another big cairn over there just coming into view. So this is Sgurr a corrie gliss, and highest point of the day. So I'm going to go to all 3 of them just to make sure I've bagged them. So we started the ascent of the last Munro, and it's another steep one, I'm afraid. Worryingly, it's following this cliff edge, and it's still very windy. Need to be careful. Well, here we are, Sgurr, fewer thir. That was a real slog, really hard work. I'm just wind side of this cave, just trying to get a bit of shelter. It is absolutely horrific. So there's a locken that we were looking for. Stay to the left of it, which the path is doing, so I'm quite happy that I'm on the right path. We're going to just go over there to that col and then drop down to the road, hopefully. Hi, welcome to day 51, my Munro challenge. Today I walked route number 54. It's Friday the 24th of September. And what a day, windy, wet and blowing a hoolie. I parked on the private road in the Strathfarrar estate. Now the road is locked and only opens at 9 AM, and the gate closes at different times throughout the year. So in September it closes at 7 PM. So you need to make sure you understand before you even get onto the road what time the gate's going to be shut, because you're going to get it locked in. And they only allow 25 cars at any one time into the estate. I got there early, I got there at 8:30, so I was first there in the queue, although there wasn't really a queue, there was only a couple of other cars. I then decided to park the car at the end of the route and cycle back to the start of the route, because there's about a 4-mile stretch of the road that you need to walk on at the end. So I decided to do that on the mountain bike to save a bit of time, and it did save time, so I recommend doing that. The walk itself was very straightforward. On the whole, mainly pathless. The first Munro was very nice, steady gradient, made its height quite quickly, not too steep. But once it became pathless past the little dam, then it got extremely boggy in places. But there's been an awful lot of rain in the last few days. Up until the final ascent, really, and with about maybe 100 metres or so of ascent to go, it became pathless, because I had been following a very nice quad track all the way up, making a beeline really towards the summit. And then it suddenly became pathless, and with about maybe 100 metres of ascent to go, so not too bad really. After that there was a good path off, which dropped down to the col, and indeed onto Carn and Gobhar. Very straightforward, other than the guidebook suggests that there was, a small amount of boulders towards the top, going on and off of the summit. Well, to me it seemed there was more than a small amount. It seemed to go on for quite a while. Even coming off the summit, it just seemed to be rocky for ages, until you got to the grass ridge, which was very nice then. Which takes me on to the third Munro, Sgurr Corrie Glass. Now that was steep. After the col it rose quite steeply, grassy, which eventually became very bouldery. And it was quite a long ascent, considering it was a third of the day. Yeah, quite a long ascent. Now, once you get to the top, there are 3 trig points. Well, there's a trig point and 2 big cairns, really big cairns. The So I went to them all, not quite sure which one was the real top, because they all looked higher than each other. Now, I understand that there's an option from the trig point, which is in the middle, to veer off there to avoid the descent that I took. So I took the one straight down the middle of the boulder rock field, and it was very difficult boulder field, very, very rocky, all sorts of shapes and sizes, not the easy boulder fields that you can normally skip through. Now I would highly recommend avoiding that and trying to bypass it from the trig point if you can. Which took me to the fourth Munro, which was Sgurr Farathul, which was a bit of a drag. It seemed to take a while to get there. There was another top to contend with, which is high enough to be in Munro but doesn't meet the Munro standard. But eventually you get there, and there's quite a good path coming off, and you get to a cairn, a very small cairn with a very faint track which drops steeply down the side of the mountain, which becomes quite thin at times. It makes you wonder whether you're following like a sheep track, but trust it, it is the path, and it eventually drops down to the side of the loch, and indeed onto like an access road. So the day, though, I need to say again, the day was relentless all day. The wind was so strong, it was blowing, well, it blew me off the track several times, the gusts, and a couple of times I was fighting the wind and the gusts dropped and I was like falling the other way. Very, 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 very strong all day. I was in cloud most of the day, and certainly the second half of the day I was in rain, and with the wind and everything else, it just drenched me. I think the weather actually has come over from the west, from the Coolins, because it reminded me of the last day I was in the Coolins. Nevertheless, 4 Munros bagged, 16 miles. It does help if you use a mountain bike, because it only took me 7 hours, and that's because I used the mountain bike option. But there's a massive 5,202 feet of ascent.